Proofs for Sedevacantism have been presented. More proofs could have been given, but were overlooked for the sake of brevity. If we continue with the evidence that is given, we can zoom out and see the bigger picture. We've seen details of how the traditional Catholic teaching on other religions and non-Catholic prayer is inconsistent with the Novus Ordo teaching. But if we take this general cluster of arguments, we see a general principle. The Catholic Church has always seen itself as distinct, unique, pure, and decisively superior to all other religions, which are either false outright, or, at best, lies, perversions, and distortions of this one pure truth. And of course, this stands to reason if the Catholic Church really is the one true Church of God established by Jesus Christ. With the softening of the distinction between Catholicism and other religions, the Novus Ordo doctrines effectively blur the line between Catholicism and other religions. That is, blurs the line between what is true and what is false. Yet, if Catholicism is true, it cannot have its truth diluted in this way. Again, its magisterium is consistent, infallible, eternal, protected by the very Spirit of Truth himself. Hence, any doctrine, or church, or magisterium that contradicts and denies it is separated from, rejected, and removed by it as an automatic effect. The evidence shows that the Novus Ordo Church does just this. This all leads to the conclusion: if Catholicism is true, Sedevacantism must be true. Let us recap the argument. Sedevacantism is the theological position that the chair of St. Peter is currently vacant, and that the current claimant to the chair is illegitimate, as have the claimants been since the Second Vatican Council. By extension, the church that these false claimants preside over, and its hierarchy, are also illegitimate. Hence, a distinction is made between two churches, the Catholic Church itself and the Novus Ordo Church, which has broken away from it. The Sedevacantist case is built upon principles of unity, consistency, and infallibility. It keeps to the Catholic principles that the Church remains unified in its faith, that her teaching on faith and morals cannot be contradicted, and that we find her infallible teachings expressed through her ordinary and extraordinary magisterium. Hence, without focusing on whether any given individual is a heretic, we proceed with the principle that a church which teaches contrary to the Catholic magisterium must be separate and distinct from her. Sedevacantism does not rely on private judgment because it is the law and the magisterium that judge, where Sedevacantists simply recognise and obey. Sedevacantism does not render the Church invisible, because those Catholics who hold the Sedevacantist position make themselves known as Catholics, and Sedevacantism does not entail a defection of the Church because, if it is true, it still retains her faithful clergy and the power to appoint a new pope. Upon these principles, we examined the proof. First, we compared the respective teachings on non-Catholic religions from the Catholic and Novus Ordo churches. We found that the Church has traditionally taught that the Catholic Church is uniquely true and a means to salvation, other religions are to be condemned, the worship of other religions is false, and that Islam is false, abominable, diabolical, and has wicked morals, whereas the Novus Ordo Church has taught the opposite. We then compared the respective teachings on non-Catholic worship. We found that the Church has traditionally taught that Catholics are not to pray with non-Catholics, non-Catholic worship is not permitted in Catholic churches, nor should Catholics participate in non-Catholic churches, and non-Catholics are not to receive the sacraments, whereas the Novus Ordo Church has taught the opposite. Therefore, we find proof that there are two distinct and incompatible bodies of teaching, two distinct and incompatible magisteriums. With all that this entails, it means that one magisterium is formed and taught by a true church, the true church, the Catholic Church, and as such the other magisterium is formed and taught by a false church, the Novus Ordo Church, which simply isn't Catholic. Of course, there is always more to say. Indeed, we could have started by discussing the empty pews, the various perverted scandals, the ridiculous and irreverent masses, and so many other fruits by which we come to know the character of this modern church, which calls itself Catholic. But here we have confined ourselves to doctrine, and even then, only in a limited measure. Again, the hope is to work in the spirit of Saint Bernadette, not to convince, but only to inform. Many questions will remain, but the hope is that at least some have been answered, and that, whether you agree or not, you now have a clearer understanding of this issue, which so presses upon our time. Thank you, and God bless you all.